warm welcome to another edition of Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Uvani. This week on the program, President Bola Tinubu is in the Saudi capital Riyadh attending the World Economic Forum, where he has insisted that his administration's decision to remove fuel subsidy was necessary to prevent the country from going bankrupt. We remember that famous announcement on his inauguration as president last year, where he famously announced subsidy is gone. The action caused an appreciation in the price of commodities through the roof, increasing hardship in the country and drawing criticism from critics who condemned the removal of subsidy as a policy not well thought out. Here's a bit of what he said at the WEC.
Concerning the question of the subsidy removal, there's no doubt that it was a necessary action for my country not to go bankrupt. One, to reset the economy and the pathway to growth. It is going to be difficult, but the hallmark of leadership is taking difficult decisions at the time it ought to be taken decisively. That was necessary for the country. Yes, there will be blowback. There is expectation that the difficulty in it will be felt by a greater number of the people. But once, I believe it was their interest that is the focus of the government. It is easier to manage and explain the difficulties. Along the line, there is a parallel arrangement to really cushion the effect of the subsidy removal on the vulnerable population of the country. We share the pain across board. We cannot but include those who are very vulnerable. Luckily, we have a very vibrant, youthful population interested in discoveries by themselves and highly ready for technology, good education, committed to growth. We were able to manage that and partition the economic drawback and the fallout of the subsidy removal. Equally, it engendered transparency, accountability, and physical discipline for the country. And that, to me, is more important to focus on what direction we should go. And we pursue that rigorously. The currency management was necessary equally to remove the artificial element of value in our currency. Let's our local currency find its level and compete with the rest of the world currency and remove arbitrage, corruption, and opaqueness. That's what we did. At the same time, that's a two-engine problem in a very turbulent situation for the government. But we are able to manage that turbulence because we prepared for inclusivity in governance and rapid communication with the public to really see what is necessary and what you must do. Today's forum is equally valuable for us to share experiences and share the hope of the future. What is missing? And I'm glad the kingdom rely on the window, the word collaboration and inclusiveness. The capital formation that is necessary to drive the economy, like agriculture, food security, innovation, technology advancement, must be an inclusive program of the entire world. No one should be left behind. The fear of lack of capital in Africa, stigmatization. And I'm glad the world is recognizing the need that the type of population growth that Africa experiences, the diversity of its resources, must be married with its economic opportunity.
Days before, President Tinubu was in the Netherlands, where he met with Prime Minister Mark Rutte. The president said Nigeria is well positioned to power the clean energy future of Europe and the world with high-grade lithium deposits. He also said Nigeria offers immense opportunities across a pool of sectors and that his administration is leading reforms to enhance the investment climate. He also said Nigeria seeks robust, balanced, and mutually beneficial partnerships to add value in areas like solid minerals. He asserted that Nigerians have tremendous confidence in themselves and that his confidence in the Nigerian people gave him the courage to make difficult decisions on behalf of the people. Interestingly, the president's visit almost coincided with the celebration of King's Day in the Netherlands. Here in Lagos, it was celebrated 2 days before Saturday, April 27, 2024, at the Consulate of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. You'll notice the color orange was evident all through the event. It's a nod to the royal family, which is made up of members of the House of Orange Nassau. It's been considered the national color of the region for hundreds of years. Amid the networking and food and drinks as guests made up of Dutch embassy and consulate staff, members of the diplomatic corps, the Dutch Nigeria business community, and friends of the Netherlands settled down to enjoy the event, the Consul General, Michel Dielan, said the year presented a number of challenges which the country has overcome, which the consulate also has overcome, given the high-profile visits from the Netherlands and President Bola Tinubu's visit to the Netherlands, highlighting relations between the two countries.
The ease of doing business, and that was also discussed in an open and frank relationship, and that is the beauty of the relationship between the Netherlands and Nigeria. It's a long-standing relationship whereby we tell each other openly, these are the issues we're facing, these are the opportunities that are there, come and do business in the Netherlands, come and do business in Nigeria. We know it's not always easy, but in the end, we all benefit from it, and the countries and the economies benefit from it. As you know, the main job of the Consulate General in Lagos is basically to promote the business, trade, investment between the Netherlands. We saw some reduction in trade volumes, but the reduction was mostly due to the declining importation of fuel in Nigeria. Long live the Dangote refinery, I would say, because that really makes a difference. And also, it just turns out that we can stay mobile in Nigeria by using less fuel. It's interesting.
Representing the Lagos State Governor was Secretary to the State Government, Mrs. Abimbola Salu Hundein.
This celebration provides another opportunity for our countries, and especially Lagos State, to celebrate our long-standing relationship and assure each other of our commitment to one another as exemplified by the mutually beneficial bilateral ties and cooperation that we share. We are happy to note that majority of the Dutch investments in Nigeria are located in Lagos. We hold the bragging rights to that.
In a little while is my interview with Consul General Michel Dillon on Nigeria-Dutch relations and his thoughts on President Tinubu's administration so far. But first, a quick check on other discussions in diplomatic circles, and we'll be right back.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has donated 50 tons of dates to the Nigerian Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs as part of efforts to alleviate poverty among internally displaced persons and victims of natural disasters in the country. The date fruit is known as a natural sweetener, high in fiber, and contains disease-fighting antioxidants that promote brain health. Inventory of the dates was taken by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Permanent Secretary, Ambassador Adamu Lamuwa, stressed the long-standing relations between both countries focused on citizen welfare. The dates will be distributed by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
So it goes a long way, to demonstrate the cordial relationship between Nigeria and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This is not the first time this gesture is being extended to us. It has been done over a period of time, and it's not only on the dates. There has been time that food materials were supplied to the affected people across the internally displaced person camps in Nigeria.
The European Union's High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell, has said that the wars among states are back, warning that the Pandora's box of new wars should not be opened. He was speaking as part of a panel at the World Economic Forum special meeting on global collaboration, growth and energy development in Riyadh on Sunday. Mr. Borrell highlighted the difference between the Russia-Ukraine and Israel-Hamas conflicts.
Competition has become a conflict, and the war among states is back. Russia against Ukraine, let's hope that nothing like this could happen in the Middle East. But by the time being, we have another war, not an interest state, because Palestine is still not a state, but it's a war of high intensity with many casualties. There is a real danger that the war among states becomes a reality. We should not open the Pandora box of new wars.
Meanwhile, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has expressed concern that Israel might attempt to force the Palestinian population out of the West Bank and into Jordan. He was speaking at the World Economic Forum on Global Collaboration, Growth and Energy for Development in Riyadh. He emphasized that Israel needs someone to tell it, force it to amend the existing policy, naming the U.S. as the only country capable of doing that. Mr. Abbas stressed the need to reach a political solution that brings together the Gaza Strip, the West Bank and Jerusalem into one independent state. The Palestinian Authority, led by Mr. Mahmoud Abbas, lost control of the Gaza Strip following a brief infighting between Fatah and Hamas in the summer of 2007.
Welcome back. In celebration of Nigeria-Netherlands relations, I sat down for an exclusive chat with the Consul General, Michel Dillon, on relations between the two countries in light of President Bola Tinubu's visit to the country. Consul General Michel Dillon, thank you for speaking with us on Diplomatic Channel. And I remember it was, I think 5 years ago, was the first time, we spoke. And it was right here in the consulate. You were on your way out, you had finished your term and it was time for you to leave, but here you are. You're back in Lagos.
Yeah, these things happen. Indeed, I remember it very well because it was at a moment when we were about to move out of Lagos and I was posted to South Sudan at the time. And that was a posting for 2 years. After that, my idea was to go back to the Netherlands. But then things happened, so there was a vacancy again in Lagos. And I was looking for a position. So some people thought it would be a good idea if I go back to Lagos, since I had already...
So we were here just a few days ago to celebrate, the King's Day, right here at the consulate. I did find out, though, that King's Day actually is April 27th. And, we had lots of activities here marking the day. For our non-Dutch viewers, could you explain what King's Day is about and the celebration itself?
Let me explain a little bit about the way in which the Netherlands is structured. We are a constitutional monarchy. That means we have a king, but we have the government and the parliament that is elected to basically do the policy. So the king is a symbol of national unity, and we celebrate our national day on his birthday. Before the king, his mother was on the throne, Queen Beatrix, and then our national day was on her birthday. So the national day of the Netherlands actually changes with the birthday of the monarch. Nevertheless, the way in which we celebrate it is really a celebration of the people. By the people. So the king every year visits one of the cities in the Netherlands. Last year he went to the city of Rotterdam. This year he went to the city of Emmen. But everywhere in the Netherlands, people go out in the street, dress in orange. Children sell the toys that they don't need anymore on the market. There's food, there's drinks, people dance. So it's really a very popular celebration. Not too official, but everybody joins in. And that's our national day. And we call it King's Day. When we had a queen, we called it Queen's Day. And here in Lagos, we decided to celebrate it 2 days before the official event, because on Friday we had the celebration in Abuja, and we wanted to keep the weekend off. So, but we did a lot of celebration, I must say. There's also a Dutch school in Lagos. So we had the celebration here at the consulate on Thursday, at the Dutch school on Friday, and at the Dutch school again on a Saturday morning, where the children of the Dutch school also had their own free market.
Now, interestingly, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu was in your country last week. He met with the Prime Minister, Mark Rutte, talked about the immense opportunities across the pool of sectors and his administration's deepening reforms to enhance the investment climate. What does the Netherlands think of Nigeria's economic reforms, especially under this administration?
Yes, no, sure. But let me first say that we were extremely honored and happy and pleased to receive Mr. President. I mean, it's not every day that you receive a Nigerian president. The last visit of President Buhari was, I think, 2017. And so we really did our best to make him feel welcome. He had lunch with the Prime Minister. He had dinner at the Royal Palace. We talked a lot about substance, and there was also a meeting with the business community. You asked me a question about the reforms. Reforms are never easy. That's why they're called reforms. You have to change the system in a certain way, and systems are difficult to change because there are always powers that be that have an interest in keeping these systems as they are. So I think everybody thinks that it was very, very brave of President Tinubu to make the decisions he did at the beginning of his tenure on the exchange rate and on the fuel subsidy. Of course, you know...
Which has affected everything else.
Yes. So, of course, we can complain, and we will, that the price of fuel went up. But surprise, surprise, the consumption of fuel went down by 30%. And that is not just because we drive less, that is because there's less smuggling. And that smuggling was basically Nigeria taxpayers' money disappearing into neighboring countries by exporting subsidized fuel. So I think it was a good decision to put an end to that. And of course, we have the negative side effects, the increase of prices, and the inflation as a result of that. The other important decision was the exchange rate. And I think the exchange rate still needs to find a point of stabilization. Since March of this year, I think we have been relatively stable. Just last week, there was a spike, and I don't know why, but markets, they move in mysterious ways sometimes, or there was distrust, or I don't know what the issue was. But I hope that we can remain on a certain level, and that would sort of bring down the inflation in Nigeria.
How are Dutch companies reacting to these changes? I mean, I'm sure that, those conversations that they're having are filtering into your ears somehow. How they're coping with the reforms and how it's impacting on their production.
The impact has been, well, let's say, on everybody, on me, on you, on the consumers, on the traders, on the companies. I think the only people who probably have felt less impacted are those who export from Nigeria. Because export becomes more interesting, because the exchange rate export is cheaper. You can export your products cheaper on the market, on the international market. So what I see, for example, cocoa export, by coincidence, the cocoa prices on the global market are quite high. So that means for cocoa farmers or cocoa traders, this doesn't affect them, the inflation, and the exchange rate is actually to their advantage. Obviously, Nigeria is an oil exporting country, so you export in dollars, so you basically get more in naira. But all the costs went up of everything. How has this affected Dutch businesses? Well, there are a number of Dutch companies who produce in Nigeria, who create products here, who generate employment here, but their inputs are not all made in Nigeria. For example, to make beer, you need barley. For milk, there's also some milk powder that is imported. But many companies here that even if you buy machines for your production process, many of these machines come from other countries and are priced in a hard currency. So everything goes up. Your input prices go up. The prices for your tools and equipment goes up. And of course, Nigerians are seeing that, and the salaries also have to go up, because otherwise those who work for you cannot even afford to buy food anymore. So that creates this inflation. And I think companies in general, and Dutch companies in Nigeria, of course, in the end, all benefit from stability. So predictability. You want to know where this is going. You want it to stabilize as soon as possible.
This is where we end the program this week. I hope it's been informative and helpful. Don't forget, you can reach me using any of the social media handles showing on your screen. I'm Amarachi Ubani. I'll see you next time.